But what made you start up with Bitcoin?
It's a revolution coming, I think.
Nothing like Bitcoin never happened in history.
No accusation, but you're the criminal.
I got two NFC chips, one in both of my hands. It's a tiny little chip. Let me see if you can see it.
Someday, people doesn't need banks anymore. So.
Maybe you will see the sovereign currencies at some point moving onto the blockchain themselves.
You run the system, but you're invisible.
Bitcoin is a great technology, but the whole cryptocurrency world is just even greater than Bitcoin.
Or bank or whatever, it's really like digital cash. I can pay you without permission from anyone.
Read Satoshi's paper, and once I saw it, once I understood the principle behind Bitcoin, it struck me, and I thought, wow, this is such a groundbreaking, such an innovative new innovation.
The old world is dying. So maybe today Bitcoin is not going to change a lot of things. You saw in the passage they have made 1, 2, 3, 4 transactions with a guy from France, a guy from Japan. It's not a big deal at the moment. But the fact that a new economy emerges, that new models, new thinkings, new objects, digital objects, and that people here in France do participate in this move, is something that is that may be helpful for the future.
In order to efficiently mine cryptocurrencies, you need to do so where the power costs are very low. And one of the lowest places of power costs in Switzerland would be at the power generator facilities themselves, because there you avoid all the grid costs. So I would envision that there are mining companies here, because of it's an economically attractive place to be, but that the actual mining is taking on in the generator stations of power plants in Switzerland. This is the only way to compete with the low power costs of Russia, of Iceland, of China. So that's probably how it will take place.
The process of Bitcoin mining involves two expenses. Firstly, it's internet, and then it's electricity. Electricity cost is the major expense. If electricity cost is less, an individual's profit in mining is more because the cost of the bill is less. Currently, a lot of people are opening mining facilities near hydropower projects because electricity is cheap there. Bitcoin is a digital currency. It can be used for online shopping or online booking. And miners verify those transactions. For example, if I send you a Bitcoin, how will that transaction be verified? It gets verified with these miners.
A blockchain is a database for storing data, which makes a promise. That promise is that once you write something in that database, it will never ever be erased. So that has a lot of applications, and a lot of markets will be able to benefit from such a technology, such as notarization, such as contracts being able to be stored on the blockchain, and lots of technologies which are not necessarily related only to currencies.
Yeah, because maybe someday people doesn't need banks anymore because, for example, transfer of money can be done maybe with blockchain, and you don't need an intermediary anymore. I think that's the point. And banks have to think it over and say, okay, we can give good advice, but maybe the clearing system is not the same anymore as it used to be.
Until now, there are only a few possibilities to buy Bitcoins in Switzerland. We want to check it out, test it for 2 years if there is a market in Switzerland. So we provide ticket machines as a distribution channel for Bitcoins. And after 2 years, we'll check it out if there is a market or if it's not a market. You have to have a wallet, a digital wallet on your smartphone. And you have to register yourself with, you have to ID yourself on the ticket machine with your mobile phone number. And this is everything is asked by the Swiss government as well. And you just go to the ticket machine and it's quick and easy. In about 1 minute you can buy Bitcoins, maximum 500 francs.
It's a revolution coming, I think. Crypto Valley is part of it, and we thought, okay, we can wait, or we really involve in these questions. And it's much more interesting to involve in these questions. It's not very intelligent to be defensive. We have to be offensive in these questions. I think that's the main point.
It's definitely providing an add-on, but I do not think that Bitcoin or Ethereum will replace the Swiss franc or all the sovereign currencies. But maybe you will see the sovereign currencies at some point moving onto the blockchain themselves.
were like using Bitcoin, but you can't really actually pay something, especially here in the Netherlands with it. So then we thought, you know, how nice would it be if we can actually go to the pub and pay our beer with Bitcoin. So that's when we decided to start the Arnhem Bitcoin City project. Now, in order to easily convince merchants to give Bitcoin a try, we developed Bitkassa, which is our own payment processor. And we made Bitkassa with the purpose of being really easy and really low barrier for anyone to accept Bitcoin without all the hassle, without caring about volatility or being hacked, or it really should be the solution for no IT people. You can go to the bakery, the grocery, supermarket, the hairdresser, the car shop, you can go to the gas station, pretty much anything you can now pay with Bitcoin in Arnhem.
I heard the idea about Bitcoins, and they were explaining what it is, Bitcoins. And I said, okay, to myself, okay, it's a nice idea. I like it, and I want to join all the companies who are working with Bitcoins. So we started it, not only with our wine company, but also with our wine museum.
And I heard the word Bitcoin, and I said, yes, let's do it. Arnhem was also one of the first cities, I think, to use the Bitcoin commercially to really pay for things. For me, this was some new innovation in my restaurant. And also I got a lot of clientele, people from all around the world actually, that came here to eat and and paid with Bitcoins. Yeah. Let's say from a system point of view, I think it's a good thing. This is real digital currency. Yeah.
We are in Bitcoins because Arnhem is Bitcoin City, and we like to get innovative and give people the opportunity to buy burgers with Bitcoins. Not that much, but we have a couple, I think like 50 people a month.
It became easier and easier because people could see it actually works. And even though the volumes are still pretty small, I mean, there's about like 5,000 euros worth of Bitcoins being spent per month here. It's still very small, but it's a start, you know, and it's fun to see it slowly grow and slowly coming up, more people joining.
I call myself a Bitcoin refugee because I left one country because of the way they tried to stop Bitcoin, and in particular because they tried to use me as to make an example. I thought it was better for me, safer for me, as well as especially for my family, to leave and to move to a country that was much more welcoming to new technology, which happened to be Holland. Of course, I was originally Dutch, so it wasn't too difficult. I'm the first person in the Netherlands and maybe in Europe to pay my rent in Bitcoin. I think that maybe they see in Bitcoin and in blockchain a threat to their power. And so we have seen with other countries, like say Russia, for instance, where they have banned Bitcoin at times and then relaxed a little bit and then banned again, and you never really know what the situation is. But Estonia gave off a different vibe. They pretended to be very welcoming, and I believed that at the time. So I wasn't scared and I didn't hide myself, and I was just doing it in the open and trying to promote Bitcoin. I challenged them and said that I do not think I should have to answer your questions. And I went to court to get that accepted, but that didn't work out in the end. But in the meantime, I was gone.
I got two NFC chips, one in both of my hands. It's a tiny little chip, Let me see if you can see it. It's a tiny little chip which basically has an antenna. It's encased with epoxy, encased in a bioglass compatible glass capsule. It allows me to just like scan it with my phone. Like for example, normally you have your code you have to enter, and it will start my Bitcoin wallet. So basically, it stores my Bitcoin. Instead of storing access to a bank account, it basically is the bank account. It's like an offshore bank account inside your hands. It's not certified to be implanted in humans, but you don't need anybody's permission, or so. I think it's my body. I can do what I want. If it would be really problematic, that would probably be because there would be an infection during the implant process. So it's very important that it's properly cleaned. And even though we did with I think 10 people, we did the chip implant session at an old toothpaste factory, which was deserted and it was really dusty. So we had to clean up the area a bit, but it was done very hygienically. So I think it's just a matter of working hygienically, then it's not dangerous at all. But the idea is that if you are a little bit more discreet about it, don't go around showing everybody, then it's a very safe place to store some savings without anyone being able to confiscate or steal them. And I think this is, well, I thought it was a good idea, but I understand it's not for everyone, so this is why we have a similar system with the cards coming out of the ATM, which is basically the same technology, except that it's in a card, and we are all comfortable with banking cards. So the concept everybody will subscribe to, but the chip implants were more of a sort of experiment to see if we could, make our daily lives a little bit more easier and maybe a little bit more secure.
As we just mentioned, the whole world got a huge shock, a rude awakening this weekend when that ransomware that was infected online.
France, Spain, the United States, Russia, India, and many points in between have been hit by a common form of cybercrime known as ransomware. This particular ransomware has been dubbed as WannaCry, and its objective is simple: to extort money from victims.
Only shout about Bitcoin after the attacks and the terrorist attacks, because when there is a bombing and there are 10 killed or hundreds of people killed, they have to shout on the TV, they have to say something. And so they are Bitcoin terrorists, Islam, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't grasp the reality. There is a risk because you cannot deny that cryptography and cryptocurrency, they may be used by dirty people. You cannot deny it. So it's a question of balance.
The amounts that criminals and terrorists might need for their operations would be immediate red flags on the blockchain.
Those people are really concerned about things such as money laundering and buying drugs online. And of course we understand that. And that is precisely why when people come at La Maison de Bitcoin and they want to buy Bitcoins, we ask them for their ID, and we request that this ID is genuine, of course, in order to limit such problems. We think that by having a proper regulation of Bitcoin selling and buying activities, this kind of issues could be addressed very clearly.
There is no law to regulate cryptocurrency, and RBI doesn't have any kind of regulation to govern cryptocurrency. Moreover, RBI is a bit apprehensive towards this uncontrolled nature of cryptocurrency, or better to say the Bitcoin is the most famous cryptocurrency.
So I saw that the Indian government decided that 88% of the total amount of currency was going to disappear overnight. One thing that surprised me a lot over here in Europe is that very, very few people actually talked about it in the media. As far as eliminating physical currency, the French government is also very much pushing towards that direction. in September 2015, the French government basically decided that you wouldn't be able anymore to buy anything in cash for more than 1,000 euros. So if you want to buy something which costs more than 1,000 euros, you are nowadays required to actually use a credit card. I think that this current movement is also a way for governments to try to limit problems such as money laundering, because if you are using cash, then it's of course much easier to launder money.
Banks, some of them are very conservative, and now they have to make a big step. But they are facing it, I'm sure. They have to do that.
A lot of central institutions will have to adapt. Banks, notaries, lawyers, and even states, local and federal governments will have to adapt to this new way of doing things. And at the end of the day, the decentralization, I think, will bring large cost savings in the world of any kind of transactions. And since a lot of wealth is spent in this way, it will just make the world a cheaper and safer place for all of us to operate, and probably also lift a lot of people out of poverty who today have very little ability to trade with the outside world. I would say also a place like India will benefit greatly from people living in rural districts all of a sudden being able to offer their services to the world and accept payment and buy assets instead of only having to store in rupees that are stolen away from them, right? Then they can all of a sudden, their money can flow freely. And this, I think, will mean an explosion of wealth in the world, and we will all benefit.
Actually, there was only an MP, a parliamentary person, who really wanted to close us. And the main reason why he wanted to close us was because he was able to actually buy drugs online using Bitcoin. However, on the other side, there are lots of people in the French government who are getting very interested in Bitcoin and on the blockchain, and who think that it's a great technology. So I don't think that we will be in great trouble in the future.
Do you think we are digitally sound enough to bring cryptocurrency into mainstream, or to make it a primary means of exchange? I'm quite hopeful about it, but I don't see it happening right now.
No accusation, but you're the criminal. No implication, you're unpredictable. Time to lose control. See you later on in the fast lane, yeah.